Bitwit's coverage of Computex 2019 is brought to you by Fantex, Cooler Master, Gigabyte, Enermax, Team Group, NZXT, and Corsair. To learn more about our sponsors, click on the links below.
T-Force. All right, I actually came up to this booth thinking that they would just show me memory and more memory, but they actually have quite a bit here, more than just memory, which is what they're really known for. But I'm going to start off small, and then we'll work our way up to the bigger things. For starters, we have this little USB drive that does not look like a USB drive at all at first. It's actually a multi-tool. It's kind of handy. It goes all the way up to 128 gigs, USB 3.1 Gen 1. It would have been cool to get some Gen 2 speeds in there, but that's all right. We have a magnifying glass here, as well as a ruler that extends all the way out for a full length or a longer ruler. There's also a way that you can draw like perfect circles with it, because there's little tiny holes in this portion, so if you want to get a perfect circle on. So it's kind of like, I don't know, I'd probably bring this with me to like a math class or something. There's a lot of applications here, but I think this one's actually a little bit cooler, because it's actually got a razor opener, or I should say a box opener. This little part comes off and it's a razor. You can do a straight blade opening boxes. That comes in very handy on a regular basis for me anyway. A bottle opener, that also comes in handy on a regular basis for me. There's a built-in magnet, so you know, if you need to pick up 3 paper clips for a photo shoot, it's perfect for that. And also a little ruler, a little bit smaller than the last one, but it's kind of nice. It also goes connects to your keychain just fine. This one also goes up to 128 gigs, and it's also USB 3.1 Gen 1. Moving on here, we have the PD1000 that goes all the way from 240 gigs to just under a terabyte there, getting speeds up to 950 megabits per second, or megabytes per second. Now these are IP66 rated, so it's going to be shockproof, waterproof, and dustproof within those specifications. They've got a nice little demonstration here that if you hit it straight on with Thor's hammer, it will survive. Also, if it happens to be in a sand pit of bones, the sand will not corrode and corrupt the innards of your precious drive and data. Kind of a fun demo here. I'm gonna bury it. Oh no, who stole our drive? No, I don't want to freak him out. Let's leave it out. And a nice little water demo here. I kind of want one of these setups at home, just because they'll be relaxing and offer good data throughout. Next, we're looking at the T-Force Cardea. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. Cardea? I don't know. Liquid M.2 PCIe SSD. Yes, they liquid-cooled M.2 SSDs. Okay, this already has the M.2 drive built in. Unfortunately, it's PCIe Gen 3, so it's not going to be. You won't be able to take full advantage of PCIe Gen 4 and X570. But we're going to circle back to that later. What is cool about these drives, though, is that you're still getting very nice NVMe performance and a water-cooled experience. There's actually the drive's on the very bottom, and then above that is a thermal pad, and then just above that is a layer of aluminum for thermal conductivity, and then you've got finally your water block on top of that with just a little bit of water there. Now the Team Group rep has told me that they've actually done some testing here and found that with liquid involved, with liquid added to the M.2 drives, we're seeing a reduction of up to 10 degrees Celsius under load, which is pretty cool. I love to test that myself. Also, over time, this will eventually evaporate. The liquid in here will start to disappear, and your thermals will just go back down to a regular M.2 thermal pad / heatsink drive. But that's okay. You can actually refill it. They've thought of that very clearly. There's actually a fill port right here. I believe you push this inward and then remove the cap here, you can actually drain and refill this entire water block, which is pretty handy. And yes, these colors are the actual coolant themselves, not paint or a different part of the heatsink. That's actually the color of the fluid. So I'm curious to see how they're actually going to sell these, if you can buy them based on color, or if that's going to be sold separately or whatever. But be sure to look out for these, the Cardea Liquid M.2 PCIe SSDs. Next we have the T-Force Delta Max RGB SSD. This is a SATA Rev 3 6 gigabit per second drive, goes all the way from 250 to 2 terabyte. And look at this, just look at this. This is insane. This is the largest amount of illumination that I've ever seen on an SSD, like by a landslide. I think it looks gorgeous. The LEDs are fairly bright, but not too bright. And I'm very curious to see if this is going to affect performance at all, as LEDs have been shown to get extra hot on SSDs and potentially destroy them. So hopefully that's not an issue. I really hope they did some testing on that beforehand, but if all is good on that front, these are looking to be some of the most flashy SSDs on the market. Apart from your SATA data and power, you do have a single cable here that's either 5 volt or 12 volt. So if you've got 5 volt, you can obviously adjust the colors to your heart's content. If you decide to go with the 12-volt option, then you're pretty much just stuck with the default rainbow RGB, which is usually good enough for most people. This is the T-Force Extreme addressable RGB DDR4 memory. These memory kits are very reflective, so I guess if you want to bounce some lighting off in your system, or you just kind of like that very shiny aesthetic, these are the sticks for you, potentially. Now, this is, of course, with them powered off. This is addressable RGB. A lot of high-end kits have non-addressable RGB. It's just a plain old simple RGB. Can't do quite as much, doesn't look as nice. And these kits go all the way up to 4,800 megahertz, which is fast. It's very fast. Continuing with our RGB theme here, we have the world's first 5-volt and 12-volt RGB controller from T-Force, or from Team Group. This is the T-Force Captain RGB control box, and they're actually supporting up to 5 5-volt connections and 1 12-volt connection. So regardless of the type of RGB devices you're trying to connect, this is kind of one box that does it all. Kind of has a nice, ooh, cool. I didn't even realize that's a button. RGB button that can do different lighting modes. Look at that, they've got 2 SSDs currently connected and an RGB fan. Very, very nice. Shiny. Now we do have PCIe Gen 4 NVMe SSDs right here. These are the Z440s, and I'm not so sure about the blue PCBs. I hope they decide to go with a black variant at some point, but these are going to deliver significantly more performance potentially than PCIe Gen 3. This is going to be great for X570 boards on the upcoming AMD platform. We also have the T-Force Vulkan SSDs. These go all the way up to 2 terabytes, and this is just sort of like a no-frills drive. I think they really look a lot classier than a lot of the aggressive RGB designs out there. So if you just want something with a little bit more sleek, sexy vibes, this could be a good drive for your next build. There's also some external accessories here for your PS4. They have this slim RGB drive. It's the RGB or T-Force Spark RGB UFD. This is actually pretty cool. It's so slim that you can fit it inside of a PS4, whereas most traditional USB sticks cannot. And it's RGB, because why wouldn't you want RGB on your USB stick? However, it's a bit more functional than that. It'll actually start changing color if the drive is actually in use, letting you know don't pull it out. Additionally, it'll start flashing blue if it's I believe over 80% capacity full, which is actually very handy. And then that color will change as you scale up to higher amounts of capacity fullness. Words are not coming out right now. So eventually it'll start flashing red, for example, once you hit 90-95% full. Of course, that's only going to be flashing when you're actually doing data transfer. It's not going to be doing that constantly if your drive's just sitting there idling. That would be a little bit annoying. So they actually thought that through. This goes up to 128 gigabytes, and it is supporting USB 3.1 Gen 1. Additionally, we have the T-Force Treasure external RGB SSD. Yes, because we need RGB on everything. And this is also USB 3.1 Gen 1. Has a very nice RGB strip on the sides there. And the button that you see just to the right of the actual connector is to change modes. You can do up to 5 different color modes. It has a very nice, sleek, sort of brushed aluminum exterior, and you can see it's Type-C as well. Finally, we have the T-Force Excalibur RGB DDR4 kits. These are actually nothing new. However, they have just revamped them slightly by giving them a nice mirrored aesthetic. So if you're into that reflective design and want some things bouncing off of your components, then there you go. There's also a bonus feature that if you get really bored, you can just play this little maze that's printed right onto the heat spreader. No, that's not a real feature. I'm lying. And really quick, guys, before I head out, feel free to check out Team Group's giveaway that they have going on right now. The link is in the description below. Grand prizes include a T-Force Cardea Liquid M.2 PCIe SSD 250 gig model. This is one of the ones that we just checked out. They're also giving away a T-Force T1 DDR4 2666 16 gigabyte kit, and finally a T-Force Vulkan Z DDR4 2666 16 gigabyte kit as well. Go ahead and check it out, guys. Thanks.